Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 479 to 481 for the 17th to 19th of June. Let's start off with the Ukrainian claimed shutdowns of Russian helicopters. 2K-52 is shot down over on the 17th of June, another one on the 18th, and another one on the 19th. Only the ones on the 19th, which is yesterday, have a date, some sort of a location, which is Donetsk region. And moving on to the southern front. At the southern front, along the river, Ukrainian forces continue their boat assault operations. According to the pro-Russian source Ryba, there is small sabotage groups being landed along all the islands along the river. And so according to the pro-Russian source, they say that the idea is to review defensive locations of the Russian forces along the river. So far, all these attempts at boat operations or amphibious operations along the river has been taken out by artillery or heavy machine guns. So there is definitely still skirmishes around this area here. And moving on into the Zaporizhzhia Front. So we are now in Zaporizhzhia region. This is where the main fighting is happening. Over at the Kamyanske sector, a lot of exciting things happening around here, as you can see. So first we have withdrawal of Russian forces from Pyatikaki. So this happens as the Ukrainians were attacking Pyatikaki on the 18th, and then this is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. However, they say that the attack is repulsed. But Ryba actually reports that this is actually where the most violent clashes is happening, and the forces, the Ukrainian forces managed to capture Pyatikaki. They actually attack and managed to capture, but then immediately they get shelled by Russian artillery, and the victory comes at a huge cost. And on the 19th, we have information from Ukrainian Defense Ministry showing off the photo of their forces in Pyatikaki. They hold a flag, say some things which I cannot understand. And then Surya Maps also reported that the Ukrainian forces captured the northern hangars, which is actually this storage area here, this area here, and then they actually entered the town and tried to do clearing operations. And Deep State UA actually announced, as per what the Ukrainian Defense Ministry say, they captured the town. So this is 19. Continuing on the 19th, information from Ryba says that the Ukrainian forces by 12 noon is trying to expand out of Pyatikaki. They are trying to fight outwards to expand the area of control around Pyatikaki. And then, however, later in the day, the Russian army, which is a pro-Russian source, reported that the Russian forces actually counterattack, and which means the Russian forces re-entered the town again with a massive counterattack, and the Ukrainian forces actually struggled to withdraw out of Pyatikaki due to heavy artillery shelling. So the picture looks really messy now, and and then by the end of the day, pro-Russian source Ryba reported that the Russian forces have conducted a successful counterattack and regained the settlement, which is reported by many pro-Russian sources. This recapture of Pyatikaki is widely spread. However, it is disputed by Deep State UA. They say the pro-Ukrainian source say that the Russians are have attempted to recapture the village but failed. And he said that the pro-Russian statements on Telegram saying that they have captured Pyatikaki is not accurate. So we are now in the parallel universe. We do not know who actually controls Pyatikaki right now. My gut feeling is that the pro-Russian sources is more accurate. This comes from experience, because Deep State UA are very slow sometimes at acknowledging facts, and they do not want to go against the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, because they actually work with the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and perhaps the SBU as well. So they are part of the information warfare of the Ukrainian government, of the Ukrainian as a state. So if the Ukrainian Defense Ministry show off the picture, the video showing off that they have captured Petikaki, Deep State UA will never be the first one to acknowledge that they have lost the town immediately within the same day. So yeah, so this is a situation over at Petikaki. I'm leaning towards a Russian recapture, but we leave it as a gray zone. So as you can see, the mapping is different. This is the Ukrainian mapping. The Ukrainian mapping, the Ukrainians still have Petikaki, but the Russian mapping shows that Petikaki is actually under the Russian control. So do understand that there is actually two maps on the DPA's mapping. And just for those that are interested, you can actually access this map. This map is actually available if you are a supporter up to the tier of officer in the Patreon, Coffee, or Boosty. So yeah, do check it out. For those who do not know what is Boosty, Boosty is actually Patreon for the Russians. So if you are in the land of freedoms, then you may want to go to Boosty to support me. Over at the Orikhiv sector, Orikhiv sector, on the 19th there is a Ukrainian Mi-8 shot down over Orikhiv, which is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. Over at the south of Novosilka and Malatomashka, this is the two towns controlled by the Ukrainians, where they launched their major offensive in this region here. So they have resumed the attack towards Robertine, Novoporovska, as well as the lower town here is called what's it called? Verbove. So there is fighting reported on the 18th. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that up to 3 battalion tactical groups reinforced with tanks and armored vehicles under smoke cover attacked the 3 locations. So they attacked south of Novosilka, south of Malatomashka, and towards Novoporovska. So this is the 3 vector, and probably this is a brigade size attack because 1 battalion, 2 battalion, 3 battalions. But of course, I don't think they throw the whole battalion in. Basically, we are looking at maybe a battalion worth of active fighting with 2 more in the reserve. So and then the attack was not very successful. So on the 19th at south of Novosilka, the Russian Defense Ministry continued to report that the Ukrainians are still attacking up to a size of a battalion with heavy equipments with a tactic of waves south of Novosilka and Malatomashka. So these are the same information at Malatomashka. However, later in the day on the 19th, there is information of a Russian counterattack. Near Robertine, according to Ryba, the pro-Russian source, they say that the Russian forces recaptured lost positions south of Novosilka, and their fighting is still ongoing. And then Ryba actually acknowledged that it is successful. Deep State UA, however, dispute this information as well. They also they say that the success of the Russians south of Novosilka is not true. This capture of this area is not true, according to Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source. So to them, the fighting is still ongoing, and yeah. So and then over at Malatomashka, the Russians did not do a counterattack. There is some entrenchment over this area here. So most likely is that the Ukrainians still have not break through this area just yet. The area here is still more fluid, north of Robertine. Over at the Novoporovska, this is based on the initial information on the 18th. There was no fighting being reported on the 19th or the 20th. So shelling is being reported at Malatomashka on the reserve forces, reported by the Russian Defense Ministry on the 18th, and on the 19th, there is attack. There's shelling on a Ukrainian reconnaissance group at Sharifny. So the Ukrainians actually are exploring this area here. Previously, they attacked at Merne. So you might actually see another new vector of attack. But this area is very, very entrenched. So if you look at this area is heavily entrenched. It goes all the way, the defense lines. So the attacking in this factor probably can't do much. just like they're attacking through this sector is kind of silly as well. Moving into the Huaypale sector, we have nothing over at this sector. Moving into the Velyka Novosilka sector. So this is the other exciting part of the Zaporizhzhia front. The Ukrainian forces launched multiple attacks across the entire front line from Levadne towards Priyotne, Novodarivka towards Rivnopil. The Makarivka kind of stuck. There's an attack towards Uruzhaine, in between Donetsk and Uruzhaine, and towards Donetsk as well. This is an attack across the entire front line. There is supposedly attacks through Makarivka, but I will talk about this later. So shelling is being reported between Temirivka and Levadne. This happened on the 17th, with the Ukrainian forces moving from Temirivka towards Levadne. As they are moving along, they got spotted and then they got shelled by Russian forces. Over at Levadne, the shelling also being reported by the Vostok group of forces, as the gathering of forces got hammered. However, the Ukrainians still managed to attack. On the 17th, they attacked. The Ukrainians attacked, but it was repelled. The same information happened on the 18th. This time around, according to the Russian Defense Ministry's Vostok group of forces, they say that a company size of infantry with tank support was thwarted. So accordingly, 2 tanks, 2 IFV was destroyed, and and very exaggerating, 70% of the manpower was killed. So it's either a bit exaggerating or it's a massive disaster for the Ukrainian forces over at Levadne region. Over at the Novodarivka region, on the 17th, the Ukrainians were trying to move out, and then they got struck by artillery. Then on the 18th, they managed to attack, but then it still did not work out. The Russian lines held over at Novodarivka. Attack was reported towards Rivnopil on the 18th and on the 19th. So information seems to suggest that the Ukrainians are still launching a pretty massive assault in this region as well. Over at Makarivka, you can see the icon is actually red. This is because the assault groups of the Ukrainian forces were actually attacked upon by the Russian forces. So this area here, this is actually a high ground. This is actually like a cliff, and then it goes downwards towards the river. So which is why there is actually fire control over Makarivka. With the Ukrainians holding positions at the town, the Russians can actually hit them pretty conveniently. And so as the Ukrainian forces is trying to move through the town, they get actually hammered by the machine guns and shelling and tanks and whatnot. So which is why we don't really see a Ukrainian attack towards Staromayorsk, because the attack forces, once they enter Makarivka, they got pinned down. So this is what happened at Makarivka. At Uruzhaine, we have fighting reported on the 18th. Vostok group of forces said an attack was thwarted. And then on the 19th, there is fighting reported west of Uruzhaine. And according to Surya maps, the Ukrainian forces managed to have increase their control over the farmlands around here. And Ryba then also acknowledged this, saying that the Ukrainian forces managed to wedge themselves, like a wedgie, into the forest plantations between Uruzhaine and Novodonetsk, but did not have success. Then on the 17th, there is Vostok group of forces reported shelling near the Oktyabrsk farm. However, this farm, the specific farm, I can actually not find on the map. I cannot find information about this thing other than it's supposed to be a state farm. And Oktyabrsk is supposed to be Kamyanske. However, the farm actually probably don't refers to this, because the information would be weird, because they say that the Russian Air Force took out Ukrainian tanks and armored vehicles south of Oktyabrsk farm. So I have it can't possible for the Ukrainian forces to be actually this far south. So I actually have no idea where this farm is. And yeah, I cannot find it even on Russian maps. So for those that know better, do let me know. And also at Novodonetsk, fighting is reported here on the 18th and on the 19th. So far the Ukrainian forces still have not managed to break through Novodonetsk ever since the last time they captured it. As I mentioned before, the Russian forces, after they lost the position the first time round, realized that it's pretty bad idea to let the Ukrainians have this location. So the Russian lines held. So yeah. So the Velyka Novosilka sector is some kind of a disaster for the Ukrainians so far. Yeah, but anyway, the fighting continues. Moving into the Donetsk Front, there is some fighting in the Velyka region. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on the 18th, they say that the Russian forces conducted offensive operation towards Velyka. So towards Velyka, but it was not reported on the 19th. So probably nothing much. And then there's also information on the 17th saying that the direction towards Vodian. So it could be, you know, this direction as well. So, but these are all probably skirmishes, nothing much. You can probably just not care too much about it. Over at Novosilka, this region is getting very hot. There's shelling reported on the 19th on Novosilka, and then there is fighting reported from the 17th, 18th, and 19th, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And I believe the fighting is actually referring to this area here in the north of Novosilka or south of Marinka. So, on the 19th, the Russian forces managed to capture, which is yesterday, managed to capture this area, this forest area, where the Ukrainians previously have a stronghold. They call this thing the Menagari fortified position. I went to search what is Menagari. So basically, it's like a place where you keep animals. It's, yeah, something like this. Yeah, you can actually Google yourself. So anyway, the Russian forces managed to capture. They say that they for months tried to capture this Menagari. And there is a lot of minefields around this area here. So finally, the Russians managed to capture this fortified position. So now the Russian forces have this stronghold now at this area here. And they say that this stronghold is very important for the Russians to continue their attack into other sectors. So, and then on the 20th, south of Marinka, there is reported fighting. According to Surya maps, it's actually on the western part of this Menagari. So the Russian forces continue to push with the stronghold over here. They are able to expand their control over in this area here. Fighting is also reported at Boyeda on the 19th, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and there is shelling reported on the 18th, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. This is airstrikes. So, which means that the fighting over at Marinka is no longer just at Marinka. The Russian forces is now actually actively pushing in this entire front, despite the Ukrainians are actually in their full flow of the Ukrainian offensive. So I find that very, very intriguing. So the forces here are Chechens with, I think, some motor rifle battalions, something like this. Forgot already. Not important. Russian forces. So moving at the Marinka. At the Marinka region, there is fighting reported from the 17th, 18th, and 19th. Information coming from the Ukrainian side, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. However, Russian Defense Ministry only reported that on the 18th they repelled Ukrainian attack. So most of the attack here is probably all Russians, with the Ukrainians counterattack on the 18th. Ukrainian counterattack on the 18th to try to push back the Russian forces. According to Deep State UA, on the 18th, the Russians actually attacked in the north as well. So the Russians are attacking in the north as well on the 18th. So Marinka is still very, very heavily fought over. And moving further up north, at Krasnohorivka and Staromihайлivka region, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that they defended a Russian attack towards Krasnohorivka. However, this is on the same day. You can see it's 19th. So there is definitely fighting in this region on the 19th. The Russian Defense Ministry, however, say that it is the Ukrainians that is attacking towards Staromihайлivka. So, yeah. So, yeah. Okay, so moving into the Avdiivka Front. At the Avdiivka Front, we have fighting reported at Novosilka. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that the Ukrainians are attacking over at Novosilka. They are also reported to have attacked at Pervomaiske. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, Deep State UA say it's a shooting battle. They refuse to say that it's a Ukrainian attack. And the Russian Defense Ministry on the 19th continued to report that the Ukrainian forces are still on the offensive over at Pervomaiske. So that's very interesting because I'm so used to Russians attacking in this area here for 1 full year already, and to see Ukrainian attack is very unusual. Over at the Avdiivka region, there is fighting reported in the Avdiivka region, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 17th and on the 19th. And Ukrainian Defense Ministry is never very specific, so no need to care so much about exactly where, because we have other sources. So according to Deep State UA, they say that there's fighting at Kruta Balka, and on the 19th they actually say that it's the Russians that is actually attacking. So they're trying to break through between the between Kamyanske and Kruta Balka. So Kamyanske is actually over here, so there is a Russian push in this area here, according to Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source. This information is not reported by the Russian side. This is only coming from the Ukrainian side. Shelling airstrike is reported at Avdiivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. However, while we are looking at the Russians making a push in this direction, further up north, it is the Ukrainians that is actually attacking. So the Ukrainians are attacking in this area here towards Velyka. They are also attacking towards Krasnohorivka. So the information coming from Deep State UA, they say that the Ukrainians have success near Velyka, and they are moving west on the western part of Velyka. So they have captured this area here. So previously the lines was actually much deeper, so they have moved here. So over at Krasnohorivka, the Russian Defense Ministry said that the Ukrainians attacked Petrovskoye. Petrovskoye is actually this small little town over here. So they are attacking here. There is also fighting reported at Krasnohorivka on the 18th. So this Petrovskoye is 19. So Krasnohorivka is actually 18. So the attack is probably from the north. It could also be referring to the one in the south. This one we're not too sure because the Russian Defense Ministry did not specify. Ukrainian Defense Ministry say on the 17th that the Russians are actually attacking Svatove. So this is probably not true, I guess, because the trend, if you look at the trend here, it is the Russians that is the Ukrainians are actually doing the attacking. So, but anyway, and further up north, there is also fighting reported at Novosilka. According to the York group of forces, they say that the Ukrainians attack at Novosilka region. So you can see how pincer-ish the Ukrainians are doing the attack over this region here, while the Russians are pushing in. Yeah, very interesting strategic situation over at Avdiivka. There is airstrike reported at New York on the 18th, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and there is fighting reported near Pivnishny. On the 18th, the Russian Defense Ministry said that they defended they actually defended themselves near Pivnishny, which is actually near Mayorsk. So the York group of forces say on the 18th. So you can see this 18, this is also 18. So this probably is referring to the same fighting. So the York group of forces say that they defended at Mayorsk. So that means that there's a Ukrainian push towards the Russian positions over at this strategic little village of Mayorsk. And now we are in the Bakhmut Front. At the Bakhmut Front, the Ukrainians continue their attack on the flanks with heavy fighting on the west and northwest of Klishchiivka. Information coming from the Deep State UA on the 17, 18, 19. Same thing on the northwest, 17, 18, 19. So the Ukrainian forces continue to try to push to capture Klishchiivka. There is shelling reported at Bodanivka on the 19th. And there's fighting reported at Berkivka on the 17th and at Yakhine on the 17th. This information is coming from the York group of forces. If the Ukrainians try to expand their control over this area here, however, this have not worked out, and this only reported on the 17th, so the attack must have been abandoned by the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians, however, did concentrate their attack at Orikhiv, Velyka, as the reports by Deep State UA say that the Ukrainians have some success north of Orikhiv, Velyka. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry projected their offensive, saying that it's the Russians that is attacking on the 18th and on the 19th. So I believe this is actually a Ukrainian push over at this region here. And yeah, I think I saw footages of some POW of the Russian side being captured by the Ukrainian side. Ukraine captured some Russian soldiers. I think it's in this area here. And that's all from the Bakhmut Front. And moving into the Siversk Front. At the Siversk Front, the Ukrainians continue their outer pincer at Rozdolivka and Yakovlivka. So the fighting is reported by the York group of forces at Rozdolivka on the 17th and towards Yakovlivka and at Velyka. These all happened on the 17th. So on the 17th, the Ukrainian forces actually relaunched a massive attack. This together with Bakivka and Yakitne fighting. So there is this major attack happening all at the same time. Then it was all abandoned at the same time as well. So shelling is being reported on the 19th. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they used the flamethrower systems on 3 Ukrainian strongholds close to Sperne, which is also here, and Velyka. And there is fighting reported at Sperne on the 18th and on the 19th. This is a resumption of the Russian attack in this area here. The Ukrainian attack towards Kamyanske did not happen anymore. That was abandoned as well. And over at the Bilohorivka region, there is fighting reported near Orikhiv. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they say that the Russians attacking near Orikhiv. I suppose it might be from the southern side rather than in the forest. There's also fighting reported at Bilohorivka. According to information from Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Deep State UA, they say that there's fighting in the industrial area, and it's probably this area. This is the industrial area, and then there's the fighting continues on the 18th as well. So 17 and 18 fighting at Bilohorivka. There is shelling reported at Serebranka on the 18th, and so that's all from the Siversk Front. So you can see the Russians are pushing in this area here, while the Ukrainians are trying to push south. Over at Kreminna. At the Kreminna Front, we have a lot of shelling reports. Within the Serebranske forestry, a central group of forces reported they attack through what is this? Airstrikes and artillery strikes on the Ukrainian forces on the 18th and on the 19th. Shelling is also reported near Kuzmine, according to the Russian Defense Ministry on the 18th and the 19th. Might be referring to the same thing, same information. And then there's a Ukrainian recon operations near Kreminna that was discovered. There is also fighting reported near Dibrova on the 18th and on the 19th. And then at the Dibrova, west of Dibrova, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that the Russians launched an attack west of Dibrova and towards Toske as well. This is according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, which means this looks like some kind of a major offensive by the Russians in this direction, while the Ukrainians are still, exploring the forest over here while getting shelled. I missed this information. The Russian Defense Ministry reported DRG near Orikhiv as well. So this is happened on the 18th. This happened on the 19th. Yeah, might be unrelated. Usually the one when I saw the Russians put it in this way, I tend to imagine them to be in the forest region. So yeah, I see this as two separate information. Over at Yakovlivka, Yampolivka, there is a fighting report at Yampolivka on the 19th, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. However, on the Ukrainians say that it is the Russians that is attacking. So, but of course, it could be different information because the Russian Defense Ministry's information tends to report on the day before. So it could be on the 18th, the Ukrainians are actually probing, and on the 19th, the Russians are actually doing a major offensive together with the situation south of it at Toske and Dibrova region. So it could be a push in this way. So further up north, we have shelling reported near Shavno-Popivka. This is Shavno-Popivka, and And then there is shelling reported at Nevsky. And that's all from the Kreminna Front. Very, very busy, as you can see, over the past 3 days. And further up north at the Svatove Front, we have shelling reported at Kamyanske, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And Novosilka continue their dance of skirmishes at Novosilka, with the Ukrainians say the Russians attack on the 17th, and on the 18th, the Russians say the Ukrainians attack on the 18th. So it still continue to be this very confusing situation at Novosilka. At Berestove 17th, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that the Russians conducted offensive operations. However, on the 18th, so could be the same thing, because 17th, so the Russians may be reporting on the 17th as well. They say that they discovered Ukrainian recon forces, and they actually took them out. So it could be referring to the same information. Am I speaking too fast today? And over at the Kupyansk Front, things are a bit more quiet. We have shelling reported at Khyslivka on the 18th, Timkovka on the 18th, Ukrainian attack on the 19th, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And Sinkivka shelling on the 17th, according to the Zapad Group of Forces. There's shelling reported near Masivivka on the 18th, and also shelling reported at Hyholivka on the 18th. And that's all from the Kupyansk Front. Not a lot of offensive operations, just shelling. And there's nothing at the Kharkiv Front. And that's it. This is the summary for the day of 479 to 481 for the 17th to 19th of June. Do check out the operational reports that I will be posting later for the Russian side and the Ukrainian side, and also on the lazy SITREP that will be posted on the main channel as well. So anyway, do subscribe both sides, and I'll see you in the next update.